Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's got everything: international intrigue, last-minute drama, accusations, and a prestigious institution caught right in the middle. We're talking about the highly anticipated debate at the Oxford Union that descended into a complete and utter farce, with both Indian and Pakistani sides now pointing fingers at each other. So, what really happened? Let's break it all down. The stage was set at the historic Oxford Union for a fiery debate. The motion on the table was, this House believes that India's response to Pakistan is a populist strategy sold as security policy. It promised to be an intellectual showdown, a rigorous examination of a deeply complex issue on a neutral, world-renowned platform. But just hours before it was supposed to begin, the whole thing imploded. Let's start with the Indian perspective, which has been very forcefully articulated by advocate Sai Deepak, who was slated to be one of the main speakers for the Indian side. According to his detailed account on X, the social media platform, the event was unstable from the very beginning. He pointed out potential conflicts of interest right within the Oxford Union's leadership, noting that key positions, like the president and treasurer, were held by individuals with direct ties to Pakistan. Specifically, he named the president as allegedly being the son of Pakistan's Minister of Defense Production. This, for him, raised early questions about the impartiality of the event's organization. The problems for the Indian team didn't stop there. Just 2 days before the debate, their original high-profile speakers, which included the former Indian Army Chief General Naravane and Dr. Subramanian Swamy, had to pull out due to unavoidable commitments. This left the team scrambling for replacements on extremely short notice. Despite the setback, Sai Deepak, who was already prepared to argue India's case, managed to assemble a new team from within the UK, bringing on board Manu Kajaria and Pundit Satish K. Sharma. They were ready to go. They were prepared for the debate. But then came the final, fatal blow. On the afternoon of the debate, at exactly 3:13 p.m., Deepak says he received a call. The message was that the Pakistani delegation, which was supposed to include high-profile figures like former Foreign Minister Haina Rabbani Kar and Defense Minister Khawaya Muhammad Asif, hadn't even landed in London yet. They were nowhere to be found. Naturally, hearing that their opponents weren't even in the country, the Indian team decided it was pointless to travel all the way to Oxford. They abandoned their journey. But this is where the story takes a truly bizarre turn. Later, Deepak claims he received confirmation that the Pakistani delegation had, in fact, landed. Not only that, but they were reportedly already in Oxford, checked into a hotel. This new information completely changed the narrative. As you can imagine, this led to a furious reaction from the Indian side. Sai Deepak didn't hold back. He publicly accused the Pakistani team of deserting the battlefield even before the battle begins. He suggested they lacked the courage to face a live, unscripted debate and had manufactured a situation to avoid it. He also directed sharp criticism at the Oxford Union's leadership, accusing them of allowing the prestigious institution's reputation to be dragged in the muck and effectively becoming a mouthpiece for the Pakistan High Commission in London. The sentiment was echoed by others. Indian lawmaker Priyanka Chaturvedi also weighed in, taking a dig at the Pakistani side on social media. She wrote, and I quote, "Pakistan is crying again over an Oxford Union debate. This is for the record. Once again, they have proved to be liars. Expecting any better from them was not even on my list. It's clear the Indian side feels they were deliberately misled in a calculated move by their opponents." Now, let's flip the coin and look at the story from the other side. The Pakistan High Commission in London released its own statement, and it tells a completely different story. Their version paints the Indian delegation as the ones who backed out. The High Commission expressed regret that the Indian team, which they noted originally included General Naravane and Dr. Swami, had withdrawn at the last minute. In their narrative, this last-minute withdrawal handed the Pakistani side a walkover. They framed the situation not as a logistical failure or a Pakistani gambit, but as a sign that the Indian side lacked confidence. They suggested that India was unwilling or unable to defend its security policies in what they called a neutral and intellectually rigorous debate. So, from their point of view, it was India that got cold feet and ran from the intellectual challenge. This leaves us with two diametrically opposed accounts. One side claims the other faked a travel delay to avoid a debate they knew they couldn't win. The other side claims their opponents simply failed to show up, implying a lack of conviction in their own arguments. So who do you believe? It's a classic case of he said, she said, but on an international scale. Let's look at the timeline again. The Indian team pulls out after being told the Pakistani team hasn't landed. Then, it turns out they have landed and are in Oxford. The Pakistan High Commission then claims India withdrew. The sequence of events, as laid out by J. Sai Deepak, seems to suggest a significant communication breakdown at best and a deliberate act of deception at worst. The key piece of information seems to be that phone call at 3:13 p.m. Who made it? And was the information shared in that call accurate at the time? If the Pakistani delegation was truly still in transit, then the Indian team's decision to abandon their trip is understandable. But if the delegation was already in Oxford, then the information in that call was false. This would lend significant weight to Deepak's accusation of a deliberate gambit to scuttle the debate. The Oxford Union itself is now in a very awkward position. It's one of the world's most famous debating societies, with a long history of hosting world leaders and fostering free and open discussion. To have an event collapse so spectacularly amid such public recrimination is a major blow to its reputation. Deepak's criticism that the union was being used is a serious charge. The institution now faces questions about its organizational competence and its ability to remain neutral when dealing with politically sensitive topics and participants. Ultimately, the real loser here is the public and the principle of open debate. An opportunity for a robust, challenging discussion on a critical issue of regional security was lost. Instead of a battle of ideas, we got a war of words and accusations fought on social media and through press releases. The audience that had gathered, and the wider public interested in the topic, were denied the chance to hear both sides argue their case and to judge the merits of their arguments for themselves. The motion itself, whether India's security policy is genuine or just populist strategy, is a fascinating and important question. But instead of debating the motion, the participants are now debating the debate itself. The whole affair has devolved from a high-minded intellectual exercise into a messy political squabble. It showcases just how fraught the relationship is, where even an academic debate can become a proxy for nationalistic standoffs. It's a story of miscommunication, mistrust, and maybe even outright manipulation. Was it an organizational failure by the Oxford Union? A clever, if cowardly, gambit by the Pakistani delegation to avoid a tough debate? Or was it a last-minute withdrawal by the Indian side, as the Pakistan High Commission claims? The truth is likely buried somewhere in the conflicting accounts, but the result is the same, a farce that served no one. The intellectual battlefield was abandoned, and what remains is just the smoke and the shouting. What do you guys think? Whose version of the story sounds more plausible to you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. It's a messy situation, and I'm really interested to hear your take on it. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you found this breakdown informative, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more deep dives into complex current events. We'll see you in the next one.